Hey, fourth graders, we are going to be looking at equivalent fractions. Remember, I always say equivalent, I always say same as, just like the equal side, whatever's on this side is the same as that side. So equivalent means equal or same as. We are going to be building fractions from unit fractions. I will create and use models to multiply a fraction by a whole number. I can solve equations using models to multiply fractions by a whole number. So not only do you need to be able to multiply, you need to be able to show it using models. So how do we make an equivalent fractions? Well, whatever is on this side of the equal sign is the same as this side. So to make 5/6 the same as 15 over 18, we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same numbers. So if I multiply 5 by 3, I have to multiply 6 by 3. 5 times 3 equals 15. 6 times 3 equals 18. So 5/6 is the same, moving stuff, is the same as 5/18. Okay? Let's practice some. So I went ahead and I showed some over here. So I have 2/4 and 1/2, 2/4 and 1/2. Now, looking off of those, I can tell they are equivalent. Here's half of a circle, here's half of the circle. So I would write equivalent. If I were to flip this circle that way, you would see that both halves were colored. If I look over here, I have 2/8 and 2/4. They are equivalent, right? Because, oh, I messed up. Do you see what I did wrong? Do you see what I did wrong? I forgot to color this part. I was like, that doesn't make sense. This would need to be 1/4 instead of 2/4. 1/4 instead of 2/4. Sorry, friends. So off of this, it would not be equivalent. That's why it's important to do your models correctly, otherwise you can get messed up. Over here, 1/3 and 3/4. Those are not equivalent. Look at that. If I multiplied 1/3 times 2, 1 times 2 would be 2, 3 times 2 would be 6, I'd get 2/6. I don't have anything that would get 3/4. So why don't you go through some of these and try some on your own? Is 2/6 equivalent to 1/3? So we can look off the model, right? And it's the same, and I can check it with multiplication. 1/3 times 2 over 2, so 1/3. 1 times 2 gives me 2. 3 times 2 gives me 6. It's equivalent. Over here, 4/8, 1/4, equivalent, not equivalent. Not equivalent. I can tell by looking off of that picture. And if I multiplied it by 2 to get to 8, so 1 times 2 would be 2, and 4 times 2 would be 8. So they don't match. 3/4, 6/8. Look at the models, they're the same. So even though the numbers are different, they can still have the same amount. The fractions can be equivalent, they can be the same. Look down here, these ones are really close, but they are not equivalent. As you can tell, this has a bigger piece. This has a bigger piece missing. Down here, 2/6 and 2/8. Those look really close. Can I multiply 6, my denominator, to get to 8? I cannot. I cannot. So they are not equivalent. If you look at these pieces, they're actually smaller pieces than these ones. The larger the denominator, the smaller the pieces. I always like to think of it as a candy bar. If I have a candy bar, do I want to share it with 8 people and I get a small piece if I share it equally? Or would I rather share it with 4 people and get a bigger piece, right? So I always think about food. And then 4/8 times 1/2. Looking off the model, I can tell it's equal or equivalent, and I can do the math. What can I times 2 by to get 8? 2 times 4 equals 8. So 1 times 4, 4/8. So that is equivalent. Good job. Looking over here, this model, many of you probably use these in 3rd grade, the fraction tiles. I really like this. I wanted to put this in here so that you could remember. Look at, here's my one whole, and the bigger the denominator gets, the smaller the pieces get. Look at how small some of these pieces are. So in order to get one whole, and I'm doing tenths, I need 10 pieces. Twelfths, I need 12 pieces, right? So if the number one was my candy bar, and I broke it up into pieces, I'd rather do half because I want to keep half of that candy bar. I love chocolate. Over here, the circle, same thing. The more we break it up, the smaller it gets. 1/2 is the same as 2/4. 2/4 is the same as 1/8. Sorry, 4/8. 4/8 is the same as 8/16, and 8/16 is the same as 16/32 over 32. You can make equivalent fractions by multiplying or dividing the numbers. So if we're going to multiply to get an equivalent fraction, remember, whatever we multiply by the top, we have to multiply by the bottom. So if I multiply by 2, 1 times 2 gives you 2. 3 times 2 gives you 6. And if I keep doing it, you can keep doing it, but it needs to be the same number that you multiply both by. Here is a page from your workbook. So same thing. Whatever I multiply the numerator by, I multiply the denominator. So if it's 3/4, 3/4 times 2 gives you 6/8. Down here, if I multiply it by 3, 3/4 is the same as 9/12. 6/8, 9/12 are all the same. Okay? If you want some extra practice, here's some great resources. This is a fun song. It kind of is pretty catchy. It will stick in your head, help you to remember. Down here is Khan Academy. It gives you some visual number line references if you want some more practice. And then here is a game that you can practice your equivalent fractions with. All right, let me know if you need any help. Please attend your homeroom sessions. Thanks, guys.